Hi gorgeous, this is episode number 169 and we have the wonderful Michael Zipursky, the coach to consultants, back with us today.
Hi, this is Michael Zipursky and you're listening to Heart Sells Podcast with Christine Schlonsky. Enjoy.
Well, I'm super excited to have Michael back today, and I just loved our last conversation about how to get your client attraction engine going. So today we're going to talk more about how he actually succeeded in Japan, what he did, and why he actually chose it as a country to have a business in, what makes it so attractive. And also we are going to talk about that you need to understand that people actually like to buy. So you have to make invitations for them to say yes to you, but you don't need to sell them anything. And that is another factor where sales become so much easier if you just turn it around and you invite people to buy from you. So Michael Zipursky is the CEO of Consulting Success and a coach to consultants. He has advised organizations like the Financial Times, the Dow Jones, RBC, Omron, Sumitomo, and he has helped Panasonic to launch new products into the global market. But what is even more importantly is that he has helped over 300 consultants from all around the world in over 50 industries to add 6 and 7 figures to their annual revenues. His weekly newsletter is read by 34,000 consultants each and every week, and he's also the author of the Amazon bestseller books, The Elite Consulting Mind and Coaching Success, the book. So I'm super pumped to have him back on the show today. Well, I'm so excited to have you back on the show, Michael. Welcome.
Yeah, great to be back with you.
Yeah, so we finished off with one of your fun facts, which I really, really love because it's not that usual. Not too many people speak Japanese besides, obviously, people from Japan. And I think it's a fascinating culture. I had in my corporate world, I had the opportunity to go there for an event and to help out on site. So I was in a very beautiful hotel in Tokyo, and they had a restaurant for a Japanese restaurant, and then, the American restaurant. So, and I choose to have breakfast at the Japanese restaurant. And you mentioned you felt like an outsider in school. When I entered that restaurant, I felt even more strange. The hotel was pretty international, but I was like the only tall, white, blonde woman. And I even had the feeling that the waiter were kind of confused. And so I ordered the Japanese traditional breakfast, and I had to figure out what all the stuff was on my plate or on the plates, starting with fish and miso soup in the morning. Was really an interesting experience, and I loved it. So I totally get, how you can be excited about that culture because it's so super special, and especially business-wise, there's a lot to learn. So we talked about high pricing and how to get clients on a consistent base in the first episode, and I would love to just find out now, like, what was the very, very first thing that you ever sold in your life?
Wow, it's a great question. The first thing I ever sold in my life, I'm sure I must have done some kind of fundraiser. I don't know if that counts, like when I was a kid.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that counts.
Okay.
Like if you remember it.
Yeah, I have a memory of like doing fundraisers for school or sports clubs, but I don't remember what they were specifically.
You don't remember how it felt? Like asking for money, going with something to neighbors or strangers?
I was never against that. Like I've, from a young age, sales itself hasn't felt uncomfortable. And I think I can maybe illustrate it through a little bit more of a recent example. This is still going back to my childhood. I worked at a used sporting goods store. And so we were selling like used footwear and snowboard boots and snowboards and jackets and bicycles and all that kind of stuff. And I was very good at selling, so much so that like I remember our pay and I was a young kid at the time, our pay was directly connected to the level of revenue. And the owners actually had to take away that performance piece because they were paying out so much to all of us. And I don't remember exactly how much it was, but I remember just feeling very comfortable. And I think why was because I didn't try to sell. Like, I think a lot of people in sales, or when they think about sales, they have this, they create this pressure for themselves where they feel, oh, I need to sell. And that means that I need to persuade it. I need to know how to handle these scripts and this, that, and the other. But what they forget is that people like to buy. And you just need to get them comfortable. You need to really understand what is it they want to buy. What problems are they having? So I remember this one specific situation where I had a couple coming in, and the lady wanted to buy some shoes, and I just served her. I didn't try and sell. I was like, what are you looking for? And how's that feel? And do you want something different? Or have you thought about like something like this? I wasn't even trying to think about, I need to sell her something. I just wanted to serve her. She had a problem, which was she needed to get some shoes, and I was trying to just provide a solution. And I remember, because not only did she buy like a couple pairs of shoes, she talked to whoever the manager was at that time and said, yeah, like this guy, whoever he is, he's doing a really great job. And I was like, yeah, thank you, Knight. Like, I appreciate that. But it just felt natural. So there was that. I sold knives for a while. Some people are familiar with Cutco as a kind of a US related brand, but I think they're all over the world. And so I sold knives and did very well at that. Again, I never saw it as a sales thing where I had to try and persuade people, because I don't like making people feel uncomfortable. I think, that doesn't I'm not comfortable if someone's not comfortable. I want people to feel good. And so I'm never big on the idea of trying to pressure someone. I think it's all about really digging into how can you serve that person, understand their point of view and what's on their mind. And that makes that whole sales process a lot easier.
Yeah, totally agree. So what would you tell people who feel pressure, who feel they need to make that sale? So they're in that neediness energy. What can they do to shift out of that?
So the first thing that I would say is look at sales as something that you do with someone instead of something that you do to someone, right? If you're creating pressure, you're thinking, I need to sell to that person. But if you instead look at, I want to sell with that person, or I want to really work with them. Like, look at sales as collaborative. Look at how can you bring value to the person? How can you, just work with them to find a solution that fits what what they want. That makes the process a lot easier. I think the other thing too is that sales there's a lot that you can do before you even have the sale, right? So if you're a coach or a consultant and you're going to have a conversation with a buyer or a prospective buyer, don't have everything kind of like riding on the line just in that conversation. Ask yourself, what can you be doing before that conversation to provide a lot of value, right? So can you demonstrate and show and offer and send case studies, podcasts, interviews that you've been on? Can you send them a report or a guide or a video or whatever it might be, so that when that person actually speaks to you or you kind of get in front of them, they're already pre-sold. They already feel like, yeah, this person is an expert. Look at the results this person has generated. And then when you go through your conversation with them, you don't need to try and persuade them about why they should buy from you. Rather, you can focus your energy on just thinking about how can you serve them. And if you do that, then and really dig into what it is that they want and what's holding them back and what happens if they don't do this. Like, you really explore their situation and you paint the picture so they can clearly see, like, realistically, what's going to happen for them if they don't do this and what's going to happen for them if they do this, and why they should think about this. Ultimately, it's up to them, right? You can never force someone to do something, but you can work with them and empower them to make the right choice and not be attached to that. Because if you're attached to their decision, then you're going to feel that neediness. You're going to feel that need to try and persuade them and push them. But that actually is the exact kind of you want the exact opposite. Buyers can feel that. They can feel that tension, and then they get their guard up. But if you just collaborate with them and find ways that you can serve them, then they let their guard down and they feel more comfortable because they're having a conversation with you, and they feel like not only are you an expert, but also you have their best interest in mind. And that's the kind of person that someone wants to do business with.
Yeah, totally agree. So how do you deal with rejection these days?
I don't view it as rejection. So my observation and understanding is that there's no salesperson in the world who sells, 100% of the time. And the other reality is that not everyone is meant to work with you. Like, you might be great at what you do, right? Hopefully you are. But even though you're great at what you do, it doesn't mean that every single person that you speak with is going to be ready for what you have right now. And so if you recognize that and don't create pressure that you need to sell to every single person that you talk to, what you'll find is that naturally the people who are ready will buy, and those that aren't ready won't buy. But here's the thing, right? That one conversation doesn't dictate the future of whether or not that person might buy from you right down the line. If you look at that and you have added value, serve them, and then you continue to follow up and to engage with that person, then what happens is, though they might not, they weren't ready to buy from you at that, that initial encounter, that initial conversation, they might be ready to buy from you in a month, right? Or 6 months or a year or 3 years. Like, we have people who have been reading our emails. We had one client, I remember, he was reading our email newsletter for over 3 years. Never bought anything from us, like no books, no nothing. And then he became a $100,000+ client. But it was because he reached out when he was ready. And if we would have looked at him and said, oh yeah, you rejected us, you didn't buy from us, we're not going to focus on you, then we would have lost that valuable relationship. And so I think if people can just, kind of feel confidence or understand that not everyone that you speak with is going to be ready to buy from you right now, then it can relieve a lot of pressure, and you just look at it as a longer term kind of game and mindset. And I think that's a big thing, Christine, is that these days everyone's judging their success in a very short window, where the reality is that true success, the most successful people, know that success comes over a longer period of time. Don't create so much pressure for yourself that you need to produce like today, or that, oh, I haven't hit my numbers this month, that means that I'm a failure. No, right? As long as you're learning and you're making corrections and you're seeking out improvement and guidance, you'll get better. And as long as you keep doing that over and over and over again, then you'll look back in a year from now or 2 years from now or whatever it might be and go like, wow, look what I've accomplished. But if you're judging in a very short window, you're not going to give yourself the opportunity to really make the strides that you can.
Yeah, totally agree. That's like one of the messages that Tony Robbins brings, like, see what you can accomplish in a decade. And often we are just so focused on the now, the result now, today, this week, this month, that we kind of overlook the power of, showing up consistently and reaching out again, following up again, and helping people to get ready with your amazing input and content. Because as you just said, sometimes it just takes longer, but then they are ready and then they move forward in ways that you might have never, ever expected.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, that's important, in my observation and experience, is like, you got to enjoy the process, right? You got to enjoy what you're doing right now. Because if you're not, then you might spend months or years working on stuff that you're not even enjoying. And then if you're not getting the results that you want in, let's say, that 3 or 6 month period, and you haven't even enjoyed the process, then not only are you going to feel like you're a failure, but you'll have wasted a lot of time. So I think it's a great opportunity for everyone to find what do you really enjoy, or what can you take from the work that you're doing. And even if you're not getting the results that you want right now, recognize that's okay. Because even when you're a successful entrepreneur, right, you're not satisfied. There's always the next level. There's always something that you want more of. But if you're enjoying the process of working through it, then that's what life's about. That to me is what business is about, is you get to do the work that you want to do. You get to have freedom. You get to have flexibility. And there's always a challenge. There's always going to be some areas that are causing you stress or anxiety or uncertainty, but all of that is part of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful part because it helps you grow. I think if you want to do something for your self-development, become an entrepreneur. You find out a lot of stuff about you. And I think it's one of the fastest tools to grow as a human being.
Definitely. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, I don't believe that entrepreneurship is for everyone. I know that some people say, anyone can be an entrepreneur. and they talk almost negatively about someone if they just have a job. Like it's, oh, you have a job, that's such a bad thing. To me, that's ridiculous, right? Yeah. You know, we need people doing whatever they need to be doing, like where they're happy and they're contributing. And whether that's running their own business or working in a job, being an employee, like whatever their role is, that's all good, right? Entrepreneurship is amazing. I could never imagine myself not being an entrepreneur, and doing what I've been doing for 20 years now. I would never change that. But I also recognize that it's not for everyone, because the reality is it takes work. But if you put in the work and you seek the guidance, you seek the counsel, you continue kind of up leveling what you're doing, then you really can create the lifestyle that you want, and achieve, things that right now you might be looking, going like, wow, that would be so amazing. Like you can make it happen. If you can see it, right, you can achieve it. I think that's like, there's some quote about that from Think and Grow Rich, right? What your mind can see and whatever it can achieve. Well, it's definitely true. I mean, I've seen that to be true. And if it's something that comes, like you can visually see it, then you can make it happen. But you need to understand that it does take work to get there.
Yeah, totally. And I was very happy in my job for a long time, till it just wasn't enough of the freedom. Like my desire for freedom, and for especially like time freedom, like, taking a walk in the afternoon with my dogs because I just feel like it. Not commuting to work 2 hours one way because I'm fed up with it. Things like this, and it was just such a driver, because I wasn't raised with that entrepreneurial spirit. So that was something I had to figure out, and I had to figure out if it was for me or not. So that was very interesting. So you have an email newsletter you're sending out to a ton of people, providing amazing value. I was wondering if you can share, if you feel like a newsletter would be a good way to connect with your audience, and if you feel that as an entrepreneur, you should really build your newsletter list and provide value on a consistent base.
Yeah. Every business owner should, 100%. Now, whether it's an email newsletter or something you send in physical mail, I think it's essential. It's a great asset for your business. Most importantly, I mean, it's a way to have relationships and add value at scale, right? So when we send out an email and it goes to 35,000 plus people, not all of them are going to read it, but a lot of them will, and a lot of them will get value from that. And we don't send it with an expectation that all those people are going to become paying clients right now, but you do that as a way to foster a community, to add value to that community. And there's so much that can be done with that. So I would say to any business owner who doesn't have a list right now, start right now, even though you might only get, a couple of people or 10 people or 50 people or 100 people or whatever. Over time, right, that starts to build. And that's a very valuable asset. I mean, keep in mind that some businesses are actually acquired just for their list because it's so valuable. I'm not saying that that's going to be necessarily your situation, but I think having a list, it would be critical for any business owner.
Yeah, I also feel it's a wonderful way to keep in touch and to provide value on a regular basis, where it's going to their inbox. They choose if they open it. But, on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn, they might not see all your posts. Correct. But, in their inbox, it definitely is more targeted to support them than when you just do a post somewhere. So I love that idea. So is there a book that has influenced or changed your business or life in a bigger way? Like what would come to mind? What is the book, and why would you want to share it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of books.
Yes.
You can kind of see behind me, like I read a fair bit, and yeah, so there's a lot. One that it's kind of like my go-to when someone says, "What book? What do you recommend?" My first response would be like, well, are you talking marketing? Are you talking sales? Are you talking, personal development, mindset, health, wealth, right? Finances, like what investments, what are you looking for? But one book that I often recommend to people is called Straight Line Leadership. And that's by Dusan Jukic. and it's really it's not about leadership of others. It's about leadership of self. So your really mindset and stepping up. So anyone that wants to achieve more, I think that's a great book. And I'm happy to offer other suggestions, or if people have other questions, definitely.
Yeah, I love it. And you also, well, you didn't bring us a book, but a wonderful 47-page, like smaller book kind of version, consulting blueprint that people can get. And let us know where people can go to get it besides the show notes.
Yeah, definitely. So again, consultingsuccess.com/blueprint. It's a 47-page, blueprint on how to get into consulting, how to grow a consulting business. It covers some of the key topics around marketing and how to have meaningful sales conversations, how to work effectively with clients. So that's available free at that address.
Yeah, wonderful. So what would you want to leave people with as kind of like a parting piece of guidance?
My biggest advice to most people is the idea of imperfect action. And if I could just kind of go a little bit deeper than that, my belief and observation, in fact, I wrote a book called The Elite Consulting Mind. And I did that because I continue to see this over and over with clients and others that we kind of engage with, that most people don't achieve what they want. It's not because they don't know what to do, or most people think that they need the latest tactic or the strategy or the technology. They feel like something's missing. But in fact, most of the challenges that you're probably having right now, or the results that you want to achieve that you're not yet seeing, they're not related to a tactic or a strategy. Most often you actually know what you need to do, but you're not doing it. There's something holding you back. There's a limiting belief, or there's a fear. And so my suggestion to everyone is just get very clear on what is the action that you can take right now that's going to have the biggest impact. And when I talk about an action that's going to have an impact, I'm not talking about busy work. I'm not talking about updating your website or a business plan, or changing the color of your logo or anything like that. I'm talking about, most likely, how can you get in front of your ideal clients in the most direct way possible? And then even though you might have anxiety or fear, there's unknowns around that, just do it. Just whatever that way is, like go to a specific event, or make a few phone calls, or send a few emails, whatever that is that you need to do it. Take imperfect action. Your messaging doesn't have to be just perfect, right? Your website and materials don't have to be just perfect. Nothing has to be perfect, because the reality is perfection doesn't exist, right? It's all just a quest for perfection. But if you want to start seeing greater results in your business, in your life, in your finances, in whatever, then the first step is to take action. The most successful people that I've studied, worked with, observed, have achieved the high levels of success, not because they waited to know everything. Rather, they took some action knowing that they didn't know everything, but they learned along the way. And that's critical, because when you take that first step, you will get feedback. You will learn. You will actually get real feedback as to whether what you're doing is the right thing or the wrong thing. And if it's the right thing, do more of it. If it's the wrong thing, then okay, that doesn't work. Now you can adjust a little bit and go back out and get stronger. And you keep getting that feedback. It's a loop. And as long as you continue to act on it, you will continue making greater and greater strides. And in a pretty short time, you'll start seeing some pretty magnificent results.
Yeah, wonderful. In a pretty short time, you might be the so-called overnight success, right?
There you go.
Because you keep improving. Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing that wisdom with us and giving so many golden nuggets. So I hope that people took tons of notes and will re-listen to those episodes, because I really enjoyed them. They were very valuable. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Hey, Christy, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye for now.
Take care.
I just loved having another conversation with Michael, because everything he says has such a great foundation. And knowing that you just need to put some effort in and follow his system, and then you will be successful by reaching out, by connecting, by making your offers in a heartfelt way, then you will be much better off. And this is true for a consultant, for a coach, for a healer, for an accountant. It doesn't really matter what you do in your business. It is all about relationships, and it's all about that people love to buy. So you have to give them an invitation if it is a perfect match. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening in. Hop on over to christineschlonski.com for the full transcript, the show notes, as well as the resources we talked about, like Michael's free 47-page consulting blueprint is right over there waiting for you. And all the links to his social media and homepage is just one click away. If you have not yet already checked out the Heart-Centered Lead Generation Summit.com, I highly recommend you do so, because this is your go-to resource when it comes to lead generation, where we cover all different topics from paid lead generation to organic, to partnerships, to mixed strategies. And we have 40 amazing experts who share their knowledge with you so you can get that game to another level. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful day wherever you are in this beautiful world. And I'm saying bye for now.